Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I am Chase Sr. Thanks for hanging out here. With so many other content options out there on YouTube, it's a very competitive space. So anytime you decide to watch us, I'm certainly appreciative of that. So too is everybody here at Chat Sports. Right now on the show, we are taking your questions and your hot takes from X. I posted this on X today, and I said, have a question or a hot take on the Niners? Reply to this tweet, and I'll get you featured on the 49ers Report for a video to come tonight. By the way, if you want to give me a follow on social media, I'm on X at Chase_Senior. I'm on Instagram at Chase_Senior as well. I put out my opinions, put out a lot of short-form content in addition to the long-form content on this platform. The Instagram has really taken off. Same with X, formerly known as Twitter, thanks to all of the real ones who are already following me. Let's start off here with this one from Wins Lombardi. 6 Lombardis expected. I love it. Niners look vulnerable against good return teams sometimes. Will they attack this weakness in the offseason? In a way, San Francisco's been able to do that. They are bringing back their special teams coordinator in Brian Schneider, but they retain George Odom, who led the NFL in special teams tackles in 2022. Was on his way to doing that in 2023 before he tore his biceps, and he's one of the better special teams players in the National Football League. So he's back. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles has also been a key member of their special teams unit. He's also going to be a backup linebacker for this team. And then the Niners made some sneaky good additions here. Ezekiel Turner comes to the Bay from the Arizona Cardinals, where he was a special teams ace. So that's probably an upgrade from what the Niners had. And then Chase Lucas can play a little nickel corner, but was also a pretty good special teams player with the Detroit Lions. He too coming to the Niners. So you're bringing back some focal points of your special teams units, but also you're making some new quality additions. Also, with the coverage here, things are going to change a little bit with this new kickoff rule. Here's what it's going to look like, where the kickoff start line right around the 40-yard line, and then you see the return team in the setup zone, and then there's the landing zone where the returner is going to be. The, offense and defense. Offense would be the return team. Defense here would be the coverage unit. They cannot run toward the ball carrier until the returner catches the football, and that's what it's going to look like there on your screen. And you're probably asking, what does this mean for the new touchback rules? Here you go. 40-yard line if the kick fails to reach the 20-yard line or the kick goes out of bounds. 30-yard line if the ball is kicked into the end zone on the fly. So this is going to take a little bit of precision from these kickers here. And then the ball will move out to the 20-yard line if the ball rolls into the end zone. A lot of people think that the kickoff is now dead. I actually disagree. I think the kickoff is now returning because it's been dead over the last couple of years, because 99% of the time, seemingly, it's felt like there's been a touchback where these kickers just boom kicks out of the back of the end zone. Now, I'm intrigued by this because it takes strategy, it takes scheme, it takes skill. I want to see what these special teams coordinators and coaches are going to be able to draw up here. You can run some reverses, and now these returners, they can be utilized as weapons, and you're looking to add weapons to your football team who can be quality returners here. So I actually really like it. The hip drop tackle, that's another rule change, obviously, in addition to a third challenge rule. The hip drop tackle, it's tough because you want your players to stay healthy. And it is a dangerous play, but it's going to be really hard for defensive players to tackle some of these really big and bulky and strong ball carriers in the NFL. Next up, Niners narrative. If Brandon Aiyuk gets traded, what rookie wide receiver do you see the 49ers drafting, and could he make an immediate impact? Let's take Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors out of the conversation since they will be going top 10. They'll go around the top 10. I think Harrison for sure, and then Odunze, Neighbors probably inside the top 10, if not right outside the top 10. It depends on how many quarterbacks go inside the top 5, the top 10. And then similar question here from Big K Gaming. If the 49ers move on from Brandon Aiyuk, what receiver would you want them to take in the draft the most? A few names are on the receiver from Western Kentucky or Xavier Worthy. Your thoughts? So a lot to get to here. We're just going to operate under the premise if the 49ers trade Brandon Aiyuk, okay? Because it is still a possibility. They have not given him a contract extension, and at some point you have to put together a contingency plan. And let's take out some of those other elite wide receivers that simply won't be there on the board for San Francisco. These Brandon Aiyuk replacements are X-wide receivers, meaning they line up on the outside. They can line up in the slot a little bit, but they line up on the outside because Aiyuk is an X-wide receiver. I actually think Adonai Mitchell out of Texas could end up being the best wide receiver in this class. I think he's definitely going to be a top 2, top 3 wide receiver. He is 6'4". He runs extremely fast. He's very physical. Variety of routes to his route tree. He might be my favorite Brandon Aiyuk replacement. I also think he's a plug and play guy from day one, and that was part of the question that you asked. Brian Thomas is out there too. He's a taller wide receiver who also ran fast. Xavier Worthy, very light, but a speedster and a burner who can get up and down the field in a blink, take the top off of the defense, a 4.21 40-yard dash guy. Troy Franklin also ran well for being a lot bigger than a guy like Xavier Worthy. And then I think these players are available after round 1 because I look at those first 4 wide receivers as round 1 targets. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, he's 220 pounds. Because of that, he's drawing some comparisons to Deebo Samuel. So too is Malachi Corley, who is fast and is of the similar build of Deebo Samuel. He has a top 30 official visit set with San Francisco as part of his pre-draft visits. That goes to show you the Niners are very interested. Keon Coleman, slower wide receiver, ran a 4.6 40-yard dash, but was very quick with the gauntlet. He's a jump ball type of wide receiver who brings you physicality. And then you have Brendan Rice, who has a pre-draft visit set with San Francisco as well, the son of Jerry Rice. A little bit slower, ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, but a lot of people think, and I think, that he plays a little bit faster than that. Those are all X-wide receivers. If the Niners want a slot guy, Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, great slot guy. Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, another one. And then Luke McCaffrey, I think that they're going to be able to have successful NFL careers, not necessarily as outside wide receivers, but operating out of the slot. Weston P. Smith, 49ers brass would prefer Brandon Aiyuk play on the 5th year, an extra season to evaluate if Deebo or Aiyuk is gone in 2025 and how to allocate the money. The 49ers brass would prefer that. Brandon Aiyuk in his camp will not prefer that. Players are wary of playing with no future financial stability. And look, you think back to the recent contract extensions for George Kittle, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa. They had 1 year remaining on their deals, and they don't want to play if they have no financial stability or security beyond that 1 year. They want that long-term money because they can have that breath of fresh air and a sigh of relief that, okay, if anything catastrophic were to happen, I know that I have some money coming my way, at least some money coming my way. So playing on that 5th-year option, no doubt, it gives the Niners time to assess. Can Aiyuk build off that all-pro campaign? Can Deebo Samuel stay healthy? Which wide receiver do we want back? Can we afford to pay 2 wide receivers a combined $50 million? There's no doubt from the team's standpoint they would prefer that, but the player has the power to hold out. They get fined, but they have the player to hold out, so it's a sticky situation, and it could cause friction because the organization wants to show that they care about the player, and the player wants to receive that from the organization. And if they don't, we've seen that cause issues. Speaking of Brandon Aiyuk here, he is a top blank wide receiver in the NFL right now. Second-team All-Pro this past year. To me, yeah, he's a top 10 guy. Let me know and sound off with what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, by the way. $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on the projected stat lines, and you can win big-time money and withdraw your winnings all within the Prize Picks app. Now that the tournament is going on and the NBA season is approaching the playoffs, it's been so fun to play Prize Picks. And during the NFL season, of course, you know that we had a blast, myself and producer Chip. And if you tailed us, you cashed out. As for our picks for today's show, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because of this special Taco Tuesday, more than 25.5 points against the New Orleans Pelicans. That is below his season average by far. Steph Curry, more than 26 points against the Miami Heat. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo, more than 30.5 points against the Los Angeles Lakers. Producer Chip and I, we're always a part of the More Club. Win big money, pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Sign up today, support the show, and you get that $100 deposit match. 49ers and Limes. This is funny, and I included it because it made me crack up. Hot take. The Niners trade 3 first-round picks for an unproven quarterback from an FCS school. You know what he's getting at, right? He's kind of making a joke about the San Francisco 49ers trading 3 first-round picks for an unproven quarterback from an FCS school, North Dakota State. He's talking about the Trey Lance selection. It didn't work out, but I did listen to Jed York, Niners owner, speaking today from the NFL owners meetings, and he said, we did invest 3 first-round picks in Trey Lance. We also hit on a 7th rounder. So he looks at that as the Niners invested into a quarterback and they hit on Brock Purdy. They don't necessarily look at that as missing on Trey Lance because they got aggressive, which I give them credit for. They got aggressive, moving up in the draft to try to find a quarterback to move the needle. It didn't work. They did get a 4th-round pick back, more than what the Bears got for Justin Fields, by the way, but they still got their guy in the 7th round, and it's worked out. Now, of course, as part of that, you can say, well, they could have gotten a more impact player with that pick, and because they didn't do that, they're in a pickle in free agency and a little bit cash-strapped. That part is true. 49ers and Limes, good joke right there. Jawan Jennings fan club, Tay Real 49ers fan. If a top corner is available in the draft at our pick, do you think we should or will draft them over a tackle? I'm always of the belief that you draft not based upon need, you draft based upon best player available. For instance, if Brock Bowers is available at 31 for the San Francisco 49ers, do you pass on a player who could be an all-pro caliber tight end? I don't know if I would be able to do that. Because you know that George Kittle is on the wrong side of his prime. He's getting a little bit older. He's very expensive. You'd have a stud tight end out of Georgia who put up insane production for the next 5 years for sure on an affordable contract, and then beyond that too, if he balls out for you. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be off the board. But for instance, those are the types of conversations that the Niners would be having. And if a stud cornerback falls to San Francisco at 31, and the Niners know, okay, we're going to be drafting in the 2nd round, and depending on how the board falls, some really good offensive linemen could drop in the draft to us in the 2nd round. I would not hate them drafting an outside corner. Deommodore Lenoir, due for a contract extension. Charvarius Ward, due for a contract extension. Corner, outside, opposite of Ward right now, if you keep Lenoir in the slot, is a big question mark. Because the Niners clearly have lost confidence in Ambry Thomas. So if Nate Wiggins, Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, they fall to number 31, if you got to draft the best player over an offensive lineman, I'm not opposed to that. Here's the thing. It's a very good offensive line class, and a perennial Pro Bowler, All-Pro player along the trenches could be available at number 31 too. And I do think that offensive line takes precedent and is more important as far as my positional rankings compared to corner. 49ers fanatics, what are some starting players that you think should be released if their salary contract is not cut or restructured? Starting players who get paid too much compared to how much effort or skill they produce in the regular season. I believe that would be Debo, but what do you think? It's a good question. If Kyle Juszczyk didn't restructure that deal, he could have been a cap casualty. Dre Greenlaw could have been that if he didn't tear that Achilles, but that would have been doing him dirty. Javon Hargrave, after this upcoming year, he could be a part of that conversation. Ambry Thomas could be a cap cut. Jake Brendel, I think, would save you a few $1 million if you were to let go of him because he's making about $5 million average annual value on his deal. That's about it among the players that really stand out to me. Debo, you have to inherit, and you'd have to eat a big dead cap charge. And Debo is a very, very special player, as I've always said. He's missed some time the last 2 years, and his production has certainly been a little bit up and down, but still a very special player. Brock Purdy enthusiast, ATL enthusiast. Debo will be gone before Aiyuk. Look, if you ask me, which wide receiver is going to be on this team in 3 years and which wide receiver is not, I'd say that Aiyuk is on this team and Debo is not if that were the situation. I also think that Aiyuk has an opportunity to have a longer, more successful career because he doesn't necessarily rely on being physical and running over people like a running back and bringing that brute force to the position. He's more of a finesse player, which those types of players last a little bit longer. That's why running backs oftentimes, as soon as they turn 30, sometimes they're cooked. Sam, hot take. 49ers run the table and complete the quest for 6 in 2024. They can get back to the Super Bowl and they can win the Super Bowl. There's no doubt about that. Them going undefeated, it's not going to happen. The NFL is too good. It's too talented. They've now played in 4 NFC championship games over the last 5 years, including 2 Super Bowls. It's a lot of wear and tear on the body. They're over-under for wins, 11.5. Chiefs and Niners leading the way with that over-under total. Some people are smashing the under. They can easily win 12 games. It's all about injuries. And if they stay healthy next year, they can be the number 1 seed again. They can be one of the top seeds in the NFC. They can, and many people would make the argument they should make it back to the Super Bowl. This last one coming in from a definite porn bot. So Glam Babes is never going to see this show because Glam Babes is not real. It's very impressive how these porn bots operate. They respond to tweets within seconds. You post something on X, porn bot with the reply. And a lot of them are in the comment section on YouTube. A lot of them are in the comment section on X with something like show nudes. But the bots have become so smart that you would think this is real. Don't get got and slide in the DMs asking for something that you shouldn't be asking for. But this is impressive. Love the 49ers, but their defense needs major work. Maybe they should hire me as general manager, just saying go Niners. I know it's a bot because the defense doesn't need major work. And this bot, all over the place on X. Don't get got. And if you search that profile, you better be careful. Do you want us to take more questions on X for shows like this? If that is the case, type yes. We're always trying to evolve. We're always trying to cater to the viewer and involve the viewer. So if you enjoyed this, we do our mailbags, but I like the show flow of doing something like this on X. Let me know down in the comment section, and thanks for watching.